In moments from now, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will present her 9th union budget at a time when India is growing faster than any major economy, yet facing global headwinds. Remember, the economic survey projects growth of 6.5 to 7%, but also flags weak consumption, food inflation, risks and concerns over the quality of jobs. This budget is therefore not just about numbers, it is about direction. Will the government stay the course on the capex-led growth or shift focus to consumption relief? Will fiscal discipline hold or give way to political pressure? Remember, last year's budget laid the foundation. This will decide whether growth translates into lived prosperity. The economic survey has given the diagnosis. The question is, will this budget deliver that prescription? You're watching a special coverage on India Today on the union budget. But first up, there's a piece of breaking news that is coming in now. All eyes are on the union budget. In an hour and a half from now, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will leave her home and head straight to Kartavya Bhavan. That will be where the first photo opportunity will happen with Finance Minister and the entire team which has drafted this budget. Will this budget be about jobs, infrastructure, political sops as well in 5 poll-bound states? Remember, there are 5 states which go to polls in the next 2.5 months. Finance Minister's vision of growth will become clear, but the big takeaway will also be about Part B of the speech of the budget. Part B of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's speech, which is going to be longer perhaps. That will be read again by the Finance Minister. This is for the first time it is happening in all these 75 years. Remember, the first budget, of course, was presented in independent India in 1947. And the question is, she is all set to present the budget in Parliament in few hours from now. The budget speech, of course, is going to begin at 11 a.m., wherein the Finance Minister will be laying out the key economic figures and the government's development plans for the upcoming fiscal year. But in what will be a marked shift from what we have seen in all the budgets presented by multiple finance ministers since independence, would be that she will be speaking about the Part B of this budget. And that's where the details of the custom reforms are likely to come from. That's where the details of the reform express of the Modi government is likely to come from. Remember, this is the budget which is expected to accelerate India's journey towards Viksit Bharat 2047, coming at a time when the rupee has hit an all-time low and the economy is battling global uncertainties. There are external factors at play, like the US tariffs and geopolitical tensions. Finance Minister may focus on simplifying regulations and pushing structural reforms to attract domestic and foreign investment. That's going to be the big takeaway. And despite the tight purse strings, the Finance Minister is expected to cut spending and may include new measures, particularly for the 5 poll-bound states, where the mother of all battles will be playing out in the next 2 months, ladies and gentlemen. That's West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Assam. As we have seen in the past, when the focus was on poll-bound states, particularly Bihar, and also an effort to reach out again to the NDA partners, which included Chandrababu Naidu's Andhra Pradesh. So what are the big pillars on which this budget is likely to rest? What should we be seeing as the big takeaways? But first up, let's go straight to where Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman lives. That is her residence. I'm going to bring in Piyush Mishra now. Karishma Asudani is joining me from Finance Ministry. Remember, Finance Ministry has shifted now from a North Block to Kartavya Bhavan. And that's where the photo opportunity is likely to happen. Karishma, you're looking bright this Sunday morning, the first budget ever to be presented on a Sunday. That's where Finance Minister is going to be doing the first photo opportunity with the entire team which has drafted the budget.
Well, Mara,
Karishma, if you heard me.
This is a new venue, new team of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, and the same old process of budget, but with a twist, with the flavor of more importance given to Part B, which you also mentioned, of course, about Maria. And let me bring this straight to our viewers that the average 80-minute speech that Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman usually delivers on a budget day has about 35 minutes that's denoted to Part B, which consists of direct and indirect taxes. But this time, while the focus is going to be more on Part B, we are expecting big reforms coming out of the indirect taxation, and this is how the government is playing out its deregulation part, which has also been discussed at international platforms, where IMF has also shared that Indian government now moving towards deregulating and simplifying its already existing reforms is only a way that it's paving towards its growth path of 2047. So expect a lot of big bang reforms today coming on customs front, also because India has been at the cusp of signing many trade deals, and 2025-2026 is the year where amidst all the geopolitical action and external headwinds, India is taking its own little silver lining out there by diversifying its markets and making its relationships stronger on the trade front. So today's expectation of the union budget is going to be on simplifying its customs reforms, on simplifying regulations pertaining to import tariffs, and making trade deals easier and flexible and better for the countries. Besides that, of course, expect a strong economic reform policy towards 2047, stronger financials in terms of its fiscal path that the finance minister, of course, has been reiterating for years.
Okay, so Karishma has given us one of the big talking points which was likely to emerge. Karishma, they're speaking about the custom reforms. Remember, there has been enough and more indications which has come in from multiple quarters, and that has been the feedback which has come in also from the industry, that custom reforms must be brought in, because it's getting difficult for the businesses to come to India despite FTAs. Remember, in the last 1.5 years alone, close to 6 free trade agreements have been inked. I had spoken to Commerce and Industry Minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal, who had spoken about what is going to be the likely direction as far as the industry is concerned. But first up, remember the big takeaway of multiple budgets. Remember, this is the 13th budget of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has been about the spending in social sector. One such sector is Awas Yojana, which is the residential scheme, the home scheme of this government. Just look at this graph, which is very clear that it has been consistently going up. Financial year 2020, 21, 22, it of course peaked at that time. That is the year just after the COVID. 24, it did go down because, and then it went up last year. This time, the projection is 73K. It is likely to go up again because the sense certainly is that this is an area which needs more spending. This is the social sector. We have been speaking about it. That's what the larger focus of the budget is likely to be. Let me bring in Piyush now. Piyush, the Ayushman Bharat Yojana or Prime Minister Awas Yojana, these are key focus areas of this government, and it becomes particularly important in the backdrop of the elections. 5 states which are going to polls, of which the BJP is very keen, particularly in ensuring that it is able to get its strategy right in the state of Bengal.
Well, that's right, Mari. You would remember that last time when Nirmala Sitharaman had presented the budget, we had seen the announcements having a huge impact on the elections, especially in Delhi Assembly elections. Remember that a huge tax relief was given to the common man, following which we saw how BJP had a very good performance in the state of in national capital, and following which it was also able to form the government. And like you rightly mentioned that yes, the schemes like Ayushman Yojana, the schemes like Pradhan Mantri Kisan Nidhi Yojana, direct benefit transfers, all these schemes will have a lot of impact. The sources within the government, Maria, have indicated that the age limit could be decreased from 70 to 60 in Ayushman Bharat Yojana, which is going to give benefit to thousands of people who are above the age of 60. As far as Kisan Samman Nidhi is concerned, what we are also given to understand is that it could be increased from 6,000 to 9,000. So we can expect a 50% increase in that scheme. Also, apart from that, announcement in the sector of railways could be made. More than 300 new 300 new trains are likely to be announced. At the same time, more and more benefits could be given to the common man, the salaried person. More tax relaxations could be announced. It could be increased from 75% to 1 lakh if we talk about the standard deduction. So there are multiple things which we have already got the idea from economic survey, which has indicated country's growth between 6.8% to 7.2%. So all these things are likely to be announced, and that announcement will begin at 11 a.m. But before that, a lot of things have to happen. Right now, I'm present here at Nirmala Sitharaman's residence. Right behind me, you can also see the entry gate, and this is the place from where she leaves every time early in the morning. She goes to Finance Ministry, meets with the officials of Finance Ministry and her colleague who is the MOS Finance, and after that meeting, customary meeting, they also show the digital copy of budget. Photo of that takes place at the Finance Ministry, and after that Nirmala Sitharaman along with her colleague goes to the President House, and today also she'll do the same thing. She will get the permission from President to table the budget, and after that permission there will be a customary meaty dahi exchange will also take place, that will be served by President of India Draupadi Murmu. After that she'll go to Parliament House where the cabinet meeting will happen, and then cabinet will pass the budget, and after that at around 11 a.m. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is going to table the budget. Like we have already discussed, there are multiple reforms. Those are likely to be announced. More relief to common man will be given, and yes, it will have a lot of announcements which will be beneficial for, especially for NDA partners for the upcoming assembly elections in 5 states. So a lot of announcements are likely to be made. We'll have to wait and watch.
In all these 5 states which go to polls, none of them are NDA partner-driven state. It is, if you look at Assam, it is a full-fledged BJP government which is there in the state of Assam. But when we look at the big picture, of course, that is from where Piyush is reporting from. There will be that shift which has happened from the briefcase that the finance ministers usually used to have to the transition which happened in 2018 to the Bahi Khata. Interesting image there again. Then it is also about the Dahi Chini to ensure that it's about good elements that will be presented in the budget. The feel-good budget should also be there. Another scheme, just look at this data, viewers, it's about the Ayushman Bharat. This is the health scheme of the Modi government, one of the key ideas of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and the budget for this one has been consistently going up. If you look at it, how it has been consistently increasing, keeping in mind how important this sector is. This is the health sector. We have been speaking about it. The housing and the health sectors are likely to see an increase when it is about the budget allocation. But this budget is also coming at a time when the government has inked an important deal which is being called or touted as the mother of all deals. In an exclusive conversation with India Today, Union Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has outlined the government's vision for economic growth ahead of the budget, and he has addressed whether the proposed FTA with the European Union will have an impact in the next fiscal year. Let's listen in to what he had to say, and then I bring in the guests. India is aggressively reshaping the global trade footprints. And one such example is the crucial, or should I say the landmark deal which has been inked. India and European Union trade deal has been sealed. And the man who was leading the trade talks is the Union Minister for Commerce and Industry, Piyush Goyal ji. He's joining me here. Mr. Goyal, this has been in the making for 18 years. What made it possible now?
I think there was lack of courage of conviction when the Congress-led UPA government initiated talks 2006, 20 years ago. They launched in 7, aborted in 13, after 6 years, many rounds, because they didn't really understand the dynamics of a trade agreement with the developed world. They were not able to appreciate that the complementarities between the developed world and a developing country will safeguard the interests of our labor-intensive sectors, will open up opportunities for millions to get jobs, to get trading and export opportunities, and will help the Indian economy improve in terms of quality, improve in terms of its ability to grow faster. That government basically was weak in its understanding of economic fundamentals. And we saw that the way they steered the economy to literally become a fragile 5 economy by 14. It is Prime Minister Narendra Modi who recognized that India has the potential, and 140 crore Indians today have made it a collective vision to make India a developed and prosperous nation by 2047. And no country in the world has become a developed nation by living in isolation. You have to allow markets to flourish. You have to look for international trade to grow. You have to bring the best of technologies to your country. You have to attract a lot of capital to your country. And therefore, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the last 4 years has entered into 8 free trade agreements with 37 countries in the aggregate. All of them are developed nations. None of them with less than $20,000 per capita income. Therefore, in a way, insulating our economy from any competition really, because our $3,000 per capita economy makes products which don't really compete. They complement the developed world. At the same time, opening the doors to large investments to flow in, improving our own quality standards, improving what we produce and what we serve our consumers. Therefore, 140 crore customers, consumers, will get a better deal in life. So it's a very holistic, comprehensive vision of a developed India that we are working on and that are reflected in our free trade agreements.
So is this going to be a budget of consolidation, or will it really start a new growth cycle? That is the big question that will be answered by Finance Minister as she presents the budget at 11 a.m. Joining me on the special broadcast is Rajiv Mantri, Managing Director, Navam Capital. He's joining me here in the studio. Shankar Iyer, political economy analyst, author, columnist, is here as well. Sanchita Mukherjee, senior business economist, managing partner, Walk the Talk LLP. Nasir Salim, Managing Director, Flexi Capital, is joining us this Sunday morning. Dr. Achintan Bhattacharya is Professor of Public Policy and Corporate Governance and former Joint Secretary, Department of Financial Services, Ministry of Finance. Venu Gopala is Swami, is National Spokesperson of the Congress. We have Rumki Majumdar, economist of Deloitte, joining us. So we have a long list. And thank you so much for making the effort to join us this morning. Let me begin with my studio guests here. Shankar Iyer, a lot of anticipation. This is coming at a crucial time, given the uncertainties that we are living in, but also the government of India trying to create multiple buffers with these FTAs which have been inked.
Essentially, a financial statement has become the Santa Claus moment for the Indian economy. So everybody expects something in the stockings and some booty will come. And this year, obviously, there is a lot of expectation because we are sort of situated in a K-shaped economy. There are those who have done well, and then there are the factors, those who have not done well. The other way to look at it is the domestic economy seems to be doing okay, but we face a lot of external threats. So we look at rupee. We are the fastest growing economy with the lowest inflation, and yet the rupee is getting hammered and the FIIs are selling out. Net FDI is down. So all of these are issues what we call vectors that determine how the economy will grow, and how she addresses it with her tax policies or with allocations is what remains to be seen.
Okay, so we'll be looking out for, Shankar Iyer says, will there be some kind of tax cuts, or should we be prepared for the indication which has come in, particularly on the customs area, which is the custom reforms that the government seems to be ready to unveil. And interestingly, Rajiv Mantri, this time, the part B of the budget, which usually used to wrap up in just 15 minutes, is going to be read completely and totally.
So to Shankar's point on customs reform, I think aligned with how India has...
There she will go and
Mantri, just hold on to your thoughts.
with her
The
colleagues,
finance minister
and after
has
that,
now
she
left
will
her
go
15
to the
Safdarjung
President's
Road.
house. After going there at President's house, she will then go to the Parliament where the cabinet meeting will take place, and after the cabinet passes the budget will be tabled at around 11 a.m. A lot of reforms, a lot of new announcements are likely to be made in this year's budget too. Remember that this is the 9th straight time that Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is going to table budget there for the financial year 2026-2027. With video journalist Ankit Singh and Piyush Mishra in Delhi, India Today.
Rajiv Mantri, please go ahead.
So I was mentioning, alongside the trade deals that have now taken place, there should be further reforms in customs to ease the frictions, to get rid of the frictions, and to facilitate for businesses the opportunity to exploit some of the trade facilitations and liberalization that has happened. So I think this is a big one that we should watch out for. And there's been a lot of chatter around this, of course. So there's no smoke without fire. I think something should happen on this front.
Okay, so you're expecting something on that front. Rumki Majumdar, what are your expectations from this budget? Okay. Nasser Salim, please go ahead and share your views.
Good morning, Maria. Great to be back on India Today. So clearly, as far as we are concerned, we track the capital markets very closely. And I think two major points that we're looking out, at least from our industry, is suggestions on how to support exporters hit by tariff shocks, Maria. That has been one indirect impact that we've seen. We need to see a roadmap, clearly, Maria, which talks about the direct offsetting rebates for labor-intensive sectors, such as textiles, apparels, gem, and jewelry. I think all of them have suffered huge, sudden impact of tariffs. 50% tariff burden upon them has been imposed by the US. And I think that is something which also even the economic analysis shows punitive US tariff hikes, which have caused immediate and order cancellations and a lot of shipment in terms of losses. I think the other quick one, clearly, of course, is, we keep tracking this is massive FPI exodus, Maria. I think, that is something which we are looking forward to, a short-term mechanism that the RBI in support, with RBI along with the Finance Ministry can provide liquidity during sudden outflows. I think that is, again, something which has also been mentioned in the economic survey report saying about, flight of capital moving out. I think, set up a foreign portfolio investor stability window is something which we can look forward to. I think those two very important things. One last thing that clearly we are watching, as part of our indicators is what they will do in your original question on Part B. Part B of the budget usually talks about taxation reforms. And I think that if the finance minister is starting out, may also look promising because there is expectation of certain tweaks in the STT, which is security transaction taxes, making sure that, the foreign portfolio investors, we've seen a lot of exodus, as I just told you. Maybe they come back if we do some positive changes there and recalibration of short-term and long-term capital gains. Also, in terms of both equity and fixed income. The other quick one is, of course, the sheer taxation impact on long-term capital gain from 12.5. If that can be rationalized, brought back to about 10% for equity and equity-oriented schemes, that's again something which may also look prudent at this point of time, at least in terms of expectation. Maria.
Okay. Since you spoke about the foreign direct investment or FDI, just look at the graph, viewers. How the sense certainly is that in the financial year 23-24, that is where it plateaued. with this number, $71.4 to $71.3 billion, it did go up substantially at $84.8 billion in the financial year 22. But the sense, again, it went up in financial year 25. So, Dr. Bhattacharya, do you think the big challenge would certainly be to, with all the FTAs having been inked, particularly in the last 1.5 years, the government trying to send a message that it is prepared for an unpredictable White House. That's why it has moved to other areas, opened up markets in other parts of the world. This is where the big challenge would be, that how much of FDI actually India sees.
Thank you and good morning. I feel that we have accepted that global uncertainties will continue. The way US has completely disarranged the global rule-based order. But we have a very stable, resilient macroeconomic. And despite the inequality, the consumption push is very, very important. And I expect if the government initiates some more reform measures and which are an essential element of keeping the effective demand in the country to grow at 7+%. And this will take care, given that EU FTA, say, all these things taken together, India is poised for growth. I'm not talking about 45 years hence. I'm talking about India is now a resilient economy which can, yes, withstand the shocks that is happening along. I expect that if the reforms are pushed forward, yes, and some consumer effective demand is created, things will improve and it will improve further. Thank you.
So at the start of the budget session, if you remember, Prime Minister had highlighted, in fact, those are the visuals of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman reaching her new office, that is the Kartavya Bhavan. We have been discussing about a lot of expectations and the burden of responsibility that she has, particularly in the times that we are living in. That's where the first set of visuals will be coming in. We'll continue to look at those visuals, but remember at the start of the budget session, Prime Minister Modi had highlighted about the big takeaway which is likely to be of this budget, which is going to be, which he said, Reforms Express, something that happened last year in terms of the direct and indirect taxes. Remember, in the month of October, we saw the next generation GST reforms, and then this sense is that this budget will again be about consolidating that reforms. The reforms agenda of the Modi government is likely to be reflected also in this budget, which is likely to come in the customs area or the customs zone. Let's listen into what the Prime Minister said, and then I bring in others.
देश का ध्यान बजट की तरफ होना बहुत स्वाभाविक है, लेकिन इस सरकार की ये पहचान रही है रिफॉर्म, परफॉर्म एंड ट्रांसफॉर्म। और अब तो हम रिफॉर्म एक्सप्रेस पर चल पड़े हैं, बहुत तेजी से चल पड़े हैं। हमारे हर निर्णय में राष्ट्र की प्रगति ये हमारा लक्ष्य है, लेकिन हमारे सारे निर्णय ह्यूमन सेंट्रिक है। हमारी भूमिका, हमारी योजनाएं ह्यूमन सेंट्रिक है। हम टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ स्पर्धा भी करेंगे, हम टेक्नोलॉजी को आत्मसात भी करेंगे, हम टेक्नोलॉजी के सामर्थ्य को स्वीकार भी करेंगे, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ हम मानव केंद्रीय व्यवस्था को जरा भी कम नहीं आंकेंगे।
And I'm going to go straight to where Finance Minister is right now, and that is where Karishma Sudani is joining us live from. Karishma, the entire Finance Ministry moved to Kartavya Bhavan just few months ago, and the first set of visuals will be coming in from there. That's where the Bahi Khata will be displayed to the entire country, the image of the Bahi Khata. So give us a sense of what should we be expecting in the next few hours.
A tablet form of Bahikata, in fact, which also kind of signifies that the government has moved towards a more digital transformation of the Indian budget also. As you must have seen the visuals, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman entered a while ago. The creme de la creme of the Finance Ministry, who are the budget makers, which constitutes of a really new team, Maria, now. And I must really bring this out to viewers that the Secretary Economic Affairs is actually a woman secretary, which has not happened in the longest time, Anuradha Thakur. So the budget making team, while I'm sure it has a lot of other people joining in, at the helm of it stands two important women, one Finance Minister herself and Secretary DEA from Department of Economic Affairs, followed by other, of course, veterans and newly appointed government officials also who will be at the helm of this. The latest being Chairman CBIC, who only recently joined in the month of December and was tasked to bring this major custom reforms, which is likely going to be announced in today's budget. What happens now is, in a few minutes from now, you will see that a Finance Minister along with her A-team will be here for a photo opportunity before they proceed to the Parliament, and of course to take in the President's acceptance also on this budget. At 11 a.m. This is Finance Minister will preside over presenting this budget in the Parliament. We are expecting that her speech is going to put emphasis and focus on Part B, which is going to be on direct and indirect taxation. Throughout the day, we are going to see a lot of important announcement on India's annual financial statement for FY27, that is the year to come, basis on which there will also be a media interaction followed, and a lot of course, reactions and suggestions and views coming in from India Inc., who kind of form the backbone of taking forward India's economy to a 7% growth rate, which the government has been predicting.
Yes, and interestingly, as Karishma was pointing out, in this 12-member budget drafting team, there are two women, of course, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and the Secretary of Department of DEA, which is Anuradha Thakur. And on this broadcast, we have two women also joining us, Rumki Majumdar and Sanchita Mukherjee. I'm going to take that question to both of you. Rumki Majumdar, here is the message that is coming in from Finance Minister that the role of women also becomes important. The Secretary DEA is also part of this entire drafting committee. So we can expect some more concerns being addressed, particularly with regards to the social sector and household budget.
Absolutely. And I would like to also say the fact that women have always been at the center of every budget of a household. So why not take it to the national level as well? So with the rising participation of women, I think what will happen is there will be more allocation towards social sectors, which even the Prime Minister highlighted that human will be at the center of every reforms and transformation, right? So with this, I think social sectors, the broad basing of the growth, the sectors which are at the center of creating employment, that is the MSMEs, these will be at the helm of it, and we expect a lot to be done on these.
In these areas. Okay. We'll be looking at some more data, particularly with regards to the social sector. Just look at this graph and, the concerns about the education. Education sector, there has been an increase consistently, barring 2025, where there was a slight dip there. The government has increased its allocation or expenditure with regards to education. It has been going up. Just look at this graph. It started increasing from financial year 2022, went up 223.4K. Then it has gone up, particularly with the budget estimates suggesting this. And then the healthcare, again, an important sector. The budget allocation being consistently going up. So, Sanchita, while we are looking at this area, Of course, the focus will be also on what is it that the finance minister has to announce with regards to inflation. The food inflation is in check. The largest growing, the fastest growing large economy also has the lowest food inflation. But the concerns is also about the quality of jobs, even as the government says, and the indication which came in from the economic survey, that the number of jobs have gone up.
Thank you so much for having me on your show, Maria. I'll just kickstart this conversation by quoting the national animal of India, the tiger, tigress. And the tiger actually lies low, not in fear. The tiger lies low when it's taking aim. So I think the whole crux of this budget is how we are taking aim in a very, very heightened environment, which is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity on a geopolitical platform, right? I think in the last couple of years, the finance ministry has done a very commendable job in fiscal consolidation. We have been lying low. Our macroeconomic parameters are pristine. If you look at our deficit numbers, fiscal deficit numbers, it's all going great. However, the challenge lies in the numbers that you just quoted. You put up some very exemplary analytics in terms of how do we attract FDI? How do we have more productive education, which translates to skilling and job creation in the economy? How do we do all of this? That can be done, I think, by working very smartly, very thinking out of the box and looking at last mile implementation and execution, which is the need of the hour. See, all of these, the Awas Yojana, Ayushman Bharat, these are schemes, amazing schemes which are there. How do we look at execution? For example, can we look out of the box thinking there is an industry demand? Do we have the skilling for it? Why don't we look at private public participation, right? In which public sector takes up the regulatory risks, takes up the risks of the land. But
Sanjita, since you spoke about the industry demand, the sense within the government was that if they bring something like what they did last time around, the internship scheme, that will also ensure that the industry participates. What has been the reaction and the execution of that?
Simplified execution. To be very honest, we need to cut across the red tape. We need to cut across compliance. We need execution on the ground in terms of the private sector takes the business risk and the public sector takes the risk in terms of regulatory and the land reforms. So this is something that they need to look at in terms of last mile implementation. Similarly, with agricultural productivity, for example, agricultural productivity does not have access to funds the way we would like it to, right? How do you enhance the value productivity in agriculture? We can have credit guarantee schemes like the ones we have in the MSME sector, right? With far, far lesser compliance, ease of doing business and access to capital. Similarly, the government has done a heavy lifting when it comes to infrastructure, right? You've built your roads, you've built your ports, you've built your freight corridors. How about we look at asset monetization? How about we look at divestment, strategic divestment, gold monetization? There's so much of gold lying in the lockers of India. How do we look at gold monetization to bring that into productive economy, right? So that public sector can keep on spending into productive economy, urban infrastructure, whereas that this will create jobs, this will create consumption, virtuous cycle, and bring the money back in terms of the demand in the economy.
Okay. Because the first set of visuals will be coming in now from Kartavya Bhavan any moment now. A quick reminder for the viewers, this is Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's 9th consecutive budget. She has created history already. The only finance minister to have presented 10 budgets was in fact Morarji Desai, but that was done with a break. So Nirmala Sitharaman has created history and will be creating history again today. This is the budget. The first visuals will be coming in of that tablet from Kartavya Bhavan, because the finance ministry has moved from North Block to Kartavya Bhavan. We'll be getting those visuals, but first I think Ketan Bhutani is joining us as well. He's joining me from Vijay Chowk. A word from you, Ketan. Finance Minister heads to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. That's where the Dahi Chini custom will be played out. This is the beauty of the tradition. While we look at the tablet, as far as moving ahead or adopting technology is concerned, but wrapped in the red cloth, and then that dahi chini, tradition with technology is the big message that has been part of the Modi government's Modi-nomics.
Well, absolutely. In a few minutes from now, we would be seeing the finance minister's cavalcade heading to the Rashtrapati Bhavan for that usual ceremony. But I'm going to tell you one thing. What I'm hearing from my sources is the fact that something on deregulation could probably be announced, because in the previous engagements the Prime Minister has done with the industry, with respective chief secretaries, he has always mentioned about deregulation and deregulating and improving people's lives. So something on ease of living and deregulation could be announced. Secondly, Maria, we are also hearing that a big push towards MSMEs could also be announced. Because remember, 33 crore jobs, 48% of the exports are done by our medium, small and micro enterprises. That could probably the key focus, and reducing the compliance burden for MSMEs and increasing liquidity and full credit line to the MSMEs would be on the cards. Thirdly, Maria, I want to tell our viewers that the government's focus on infrastructure would remain, because last year we saw a record allocation of about 11 lakh crores towards infrastructure. This year it could probably increase by 58 to 10% for all the infrastructure ministries combined to nearly about 12 to 12.5 lakh crore, which could significantly increase the allocation towards the infrastructure sector as well. So these three key things would be in mind when the finance minister presents her budget today, and we would be expecting a whole lot of ease of living, MSME related, digital economy, digital transformation, push transformation and announcements as well.
Okay, so now let's look at the infrastructure spending. The government has ensured that in the last few years that there is a whole web of highways, of better roads, better connectivity to attract foreign investment, to attract investment within the country. This is the graph. This is how the road infrastructure spending in terms of the number of highways that has been built per year, the kilometer. This is where the highwayman of India, that is the role of Nitin Gadkari, the union minister, comes into spotlight. This is how the focus has been in financial year 24 particularly, the number of the highways built per kilometer going up. In terms of power, again, this is how the graph looks like. Total installed capacity actually going up consistently. This has been one of the areas which have been the biggest concern, and that has been addressed by Prime Minister Modi's government so far. Let me bring in Shankar Iyer again. Shankar, so far the government has sent a message that they are preparing the base so that the foreign investment comes in terms of capex, in terms of the infrastructure spending with regards to roads, highways, civil aviation facilities, airports, and of course in power sector. The hope is that this will lead to investments. How is the picture looking like so far?
So if you look at it honestly, the last 5 years, 6 years growth has been driven mostly by government capex. I think Government of India has spent something to the order of over 70 lakh crores in infrastructure. Railways have been, a large part has been electrified. Roads have been widened, new ones built, the flyovers, the trans-city connectivity, all of this has happened. And this has also been enabled by the lending that the center has done to the states. The question now is, now that you have the assets, how do you monetize those assets? And that's the flip side that hasn't quite played out. And this was the responsibility of the Land Resources Management Agency. This was the responsibility of DIPAM. The asset monetization idea has been spoken about by the Prime Minister quite some time back and has been repeated. So the Prime Minister says reform, transform and perform, or rather reform, perform and transform. So the reform part is happening in some ways, but the perform part, which is the down the line ministries and the state governments, is sort of missing. So across the entire social sector, last mile delivery is poor. And that is where the states have to sort of pull up. If you look at investments, FDI, again, it's the same story. They hold all this kinetic Karnataka, magnetic Maharashtra thing, and nobody knows whether the investment has come, not come, whether jobs have been created. So the Niti Aayog actually is well placed to sort of haul these wagons around the circle and sort of figure out how much investment has actually happened. Only two chief ministers, to my recollection, Yogi Adityanath and Devendra Fadnavis, actually put out actual MOUs and implementation data. The other states don't. And this is something that is strange because all the announcements that happened in Davos, for instance, where we had this strange spectacle of companies from India talking to governments of India in and about investing in India. So now all those MOUs need to be listed, and somebody has to put out whether all this taxpayer money that was spent in people going to Davos has been worth it.
Okay, since you talk about that mantra, reform, perform and transform, what is the role of states in all these mantras that, great taglines, Rajiv Mantri, but performance has to be about that cooperative federalism, something which has been highlighted by the chief economic advisor also in the economic survey, that the pressure on the states is far more because of the GST collection and their role going down.
No, certainly, I think on the aspect of deregulation in particular, I think a big chunk of the action would have moved to the states now, because the union government has executed on number of aspects, a number of areas, and now it's really the ball is in the court of the states to take it forward. Just to give one example, the new labor codes. The new labor codes empower the states to make further liberalization and further relaxation in terms of hiring and firing and the ceiling within which the liberal laws can be implemented. And we need a few states in India, like 2-3 major states need to take this up and drive labor-intensive manufacturing, especially when India has now done trade deals with large kind of economic blocks like the EU, and also, of course, Australia, New Zealand, and probably Canada in the works. So these are major economies where there is a significant export opportunity for taking up labor-intensive exports. And we really need now that a few forward-looking states should run with these reforms.
Okay, so if as Shankar was pointing out, it is the state of Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra so far which has come up with something very, very concrete in terms of what they have achieved and the numbers. While other states, we were expecting perhaps a Tamil Nadu or even Andhra Pradesh, because Chandrababu Naidu was the first CEO of any state. Those numbers, why is that not coming, Rajiv Mantri?
So it is true that many of the state investment summits and all, they have become like probably, to put it cynically, headline management or generation of PR for the state. And but I do think that for many states it reflects ultimately in the numbers. As the saying goes, you can fool some of the people some of the time, but not all of the people all of the time.
Okay.
So over a period of time, I think we do see which states are growing continuously, which states are actually industrializing, which states are being talked about in the business community as the right place to set up plants and set up manufacturing facilities. So the proof is in the pudding, and definitely, like Shankar highlighted, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra score highly on those counts.
Okay, so
also Tamil Nadu.
Maria, we must recognize one interesting thing. Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, for instance, have got the large chunk of investments in both digital and AI-related activity, and also manufacturing in Tamil Nadu, which also you guys were talking about women. Electronics. You guys were talking about women in the role of women in the economy. The highest number of women employed in manufacturing is in Tamil Nadu.
Tamil Nadu. Interesting. Interesting. And we'll be talking about the role of women, particularly in drafting this budget as well. Some anecdotes that you have, Shankar, you'll have to share that with us as well. And we have two women also on this panel, Rumki and Harshita, who continues to be with us. But soon after, the economic survey was presented by Finance Minister in Parliament. We spoke to the Chief Economic Advisor, Dr. Anant Nageshwaran. Listen in to what he had told me.
I think the fact that we have been able to do the deregulation in states and deregulation in the union government, and not only dealing with policy reforms like indirect taxes and direct taxes reforms, but also dealing with the process reforms in the Ministry of Environment, whether it is Ministry of Road Transport, changing the way in which they invite bids not on L1 basis but technical quality basis. So I think what the government has done over the last 15 months or so is to demonstrate that they have sort of grasped the importance of both process and policy reform. Mentioned that as an important reason for us to feel confident about upgrading India's potential growth. And on top of that, Chapter 16 of the Economic Survey points out that states have been very enthusiastic in embracing deregulation. So much so that now we are moving on to phase 2, which is like a harder question paper than the phase 1, which was an easier question paper, which all states did very well. So therefore, I think these two combined initiatives of the union and state governments are the ones that give us the confidence that the Reform Yatra or the Reform Express journey is having two equally motivated and enthusiastic engineers, the union government and the state governments collectively.